are live. Welcome to Glammaz Closet, guys. Hi everyone. Welcome to Kitchen Glam, and I am your host Glammaz from Glammaz Closet. Just wanted to send a special shout out to my buddies in the UK. Thank you for having me on. And as promised, we're going to be making American biscuits and gravy today. So, hey Hall, hey Jeff, hey Jojo, hi, mwah, hello beautifuls. So today we're going to be making biscuits and gravy the American way. And the interesting thing is that I had to and I apologize. It's, it is what it is. Every bug in the world is going around. Hey, Kristen, my show me homie. Holly's my hola. Oh my God, Liv, hello with the sweet voice, Liv. Hello. Ronnie, tackle hugs. Watch party. I like that. So the thing with American biscuits and gravy to remember is this. It doesn't, you're going to find the recipes are going to vary from region to region and from person to person. Hey, Jackson Roy Kirk, Merck and Biggis. Yeah. Hello, Georgie. We're going to teach you how to make proper American biscuits and gravy. So the recipes are going to vary from place to place. Nobody's recipe is really all wrong or all right. It's all a matter of personal taste. I have more of a Midwestern view of biscuits and gravy. So, not as spicy as like someplace like maybe Arizona or Louisiana. And maybe not as bland as some other places. A little bit of spice goes a long way, but I do like a little bit of spice. So Jennifer Hayes, my love, hello, gorgeous, hello. All the cool kids are showing up, and me, you are the cool kid. You're the reason why they're all showing up. So we're going to start with preheating the oven. And what I've done is actually pull up a couple of different charts so that we have the proper conversions. So in the US, you want to preheat your oven to 425 degrees. In the UK, it's going to be 220 degrees Celsius. So you do need a nice warm oven. And then I've got my ingredients, and here they go. We have all-purpose flour. Now, there are some recipes that call for self-rising flour. I just find that kind of an extra expense or pain in the butt that's not really necessary. I have baking powder. I have sugar, and it's just going to be just a little tiny touch of sugar. Salt, and the same thing, just a little tiny touch of salt. And then what you don't see are the butter and the milk, and those are in the fridge. We need to keep those as cold as possible. So I actually I'm keeping the butter in the freezer and the milk in the fridge. And we'll explain about that as we go along. Hey, Chuck. Hi. Taste the biscuits. Vonnie. Hello. Yeah, I'm late night cooking. Grandpa, really, he's coming off of a very tough, long shift tonight. And he really loves biscuits and gravy. It's one of his favorite meals in the world. So I thought I would do some breakfast for dinner and surprise him. It's something that he really loves, and I just thought I'd spoil him a little bit. So here we go. Hey, Dream Chaser, how you doing? Hometown country with the capital K. I heard that, honey. Chloe Nichols, hello, love. Hello. This is how your grandma makes biscuits and gravy, so pay attention. Or it'll be on the internet forever. I don't know. Okay, so we're going to start with our flour. And I do have my recipe. I will be including the recipe later, but I am trying to do conversions while I'm doing this. So we have 2 cups of flour. So the cup to gram ratio is For flour, no, allrecipes.com. I do not want you to know where I am. Why would I want that? Okay, so all-purpose flour. So 1 cup is 125 grams. So you want to do 250 grams of flour, all-purpose flour. So we're going to start with that. Now, when I measure my dry ingredients, I usually prefer to use this cup as opposed to this cup, because with this cup you can't level it off. With this cup you can. This is actually a half cup measure. My full cup is in the dishwasher. So life happens, right? So we're going to do 2 cups of flour, which for a half cup that would be 4 cups. And when I measure out the flour, I do like to take the butter knife across the top and make sure that I'm getting even. 1. Whoop. Eventually I'm just going to grab the canisters and bust those out, but I haven't used canisters in a while. 2. I hope everybody is staying nice and warm this January. 3. And 4. I'm already half covered in flour, and it's only going to get worse from here. So I'm not really worried about my black shirt. I mean, it's just flour. It does wash out. Okay, so we have 4 cups of flour. Well, hello, Sissy. Hello, Sissy. She's seen our dad do this before. My brother does it without even looking. I usually have to look. Okay, so tablespoons to, hold on, tablespoons. Come on, tablespoons. Oh, crap. Okay, give me just a second. Oh. Grams. Okay, so 1 tablespoon equals 14.175 grams. So we're talking about 14 grams of baking powder. And 1 tablespoon is what I will use. So there's my tablespoon, and there is my baking powder, tablespoon. And I can't get it in there. That is what she said. So I'm just going to use my half tablespoon, which I know will fit into the little lid, and also measure it out. Okay. So we have that dry ingredients, just a pinch of baking powder. Yeah. Well, it's I usually use a tablespoon. We're going to do a tablespoon each also of granulated sugar and salt. So here's granulated sugar. Sugar, sucre, wherever the word sugar is. There we go. And I'm actually going to back the salt down a little bit because I do have salted butter. So I'm going to use about a half a tablespoon of salt rather than a full tablespoon of salt. I just feel like that's a lot. Okay. That's lucky. Now I'm going to mix all my dry ingredients together. And to do that, I'd like a whisk. And my good whisk is also in the dishwasher. What I'm finding is that I made biscuits just day before yesterday, and since there are only 2 people in this house, I don't really have to run the dishwasher every day. So I'm whisking together the dry ingredients, and it's important that you do this before you add the liquid and before you add the butter. A wee bit. Yes, just a wee bit smidgen of a sprinkle. Or is it a dash? It could be a dash. Okay, so now that I've whisked that together to my satisfaction, the next thing that we add is the butter. And here's why I keep the butter in the freezer. See this? We're going to grate the butter and put the butter into the dry mixture. And we have to do that because the butter has to stay as cold as possible. Don't touch it with human hands if at all possible. Keep it frozen. We're going to grate our butter. Let's see. And 85 grams is the butter measurement. It's about 6 tablespoons of butter. So in U.S. measurements, we have it's got like the tablespoons written on the side. So that's our cheat sheet. And we just need 6 of those. So I'm going to chop that and get my little cutting board out. I have like a mini cutting board. I love this thing. So 6 tablespoons of butter, and away we go. And again, sorry about the sniffles. It's hard to peel these off when they're frozen. I want to make sure I get rid of all of the little waxed paper. Okay, so we're going to grate some butter. And let's go ahead and do a downward camera while we're doing that, so you get to have a chance to see. Here is Glammaz grating butter. Now, the fun part is that I am not left-handed, so I'm about to switch this up, but for the camera's purposes, just want to see you grating butter. Okay, here's some grated butter, and I'm going to toss that in. I sprinkle it all throughout. All right. Get my frozen butter in here. So I hope everybody's doing great tonight. I hope you're all talking to each other in the chat. Sometimes with cooking, it does get a little tedious and boring. So, but if anybody's listening tonight, let us know. The colder the butter, though, the better the biscuit. That's my grandma always said that. When she was making biscuits, when she was making pie crust too, the colder the butter, or the colder the shortening or lard, the better off you are. Okay, so we're going to sprinkle some more butter, and then we'll grate up the rest of it. And you want your butter as evenly sprinkled as possible. And we'll go after it and mix it up with the fork. Okay. I have to grate this fairly fast because it's starting to melt in my hand. Later on, if anybody's watching this back, you're going to want to fast forward through this part a little bit. Good Lord, this is a pain in the butt. Hey, Michael, my angel, hello. Okay, when you get your butter down to the point where you just can't do that anymore. Can't grate it anymore. It's just too small a nub. Just chop it up in the smallest pieces that you can do. So I am at butter nub. And I'm going to take my knife and chop this up into tiny pea-sized pieces. This is the last time I want to put my hands on the butter until I'm ready to pat out the biscuits. And my equipment does not include a rolling pin. With biscuits and gravy, you don't use a roll. I really strongly recommend not using a rolling pin. I'm not going to say you don't. Southern people may, I don't know, but I don't use a rolling pin because that's just not how we do it. That's a good way to get a tough biscuit. So let me wash the butter off my hands. It's like butter. And we'll do this. Hi. I'm back. Hey, Tooch. And then I'll put the rest of that butter into my butter dish. Let's see, waste not, want not. Too small a nub, that's what she said. Yeah. Okay, so now I'm going to take a couple of forks and I'm going to mix the butter up because again, I don't want to touch it with my hands until I get like a pebbly mixture. And I'm already starting to see that pebbly mixture, so that's good. Oh, little butter hopped out. Don't you do it. You're not escaping. You can escape. Quick hopping out. Maybe you can escape. Maybe it's an escape situation. Okay, so as you can see, I've got the butter is crumbled up in the flour. Here, let's give it a better look. The butter is crumbled up in the flour. So it's got like little nubs in it. And here is the final step of the mixing process. This is important. We're going to add milk. I like adding buttermilk to my biscuits. It gives it kind of and the only difference with the buttermilk is that it gives it a little bit of a tangy flavor. But you can also add whole milk. You can also add 2% milk. Either way, it'll work. I like the buttermilk because it's a little bit richer and it gives a little bit of a tangy flavor. So we're going to go 3/4 cup of buttermilk, which is, hold on, let's measure this out. And this is the buttermilk that I'm using, local, fresh, 1% low-fat buttermilk. Doesn't matter the percentage of butterfat, really. And 3/4 cup, okay, which is, let me turn this around because I've got my own conversion chart here, 200 milliliters. So what I'm going to do is take in the middle of this flour, I've kind of indented it, and I'm going to add the milk in there. Did you hear that? What a satisfying sound that is. And then I'm going to save the rest of the buttermilk in case I make biscuits again. The cool thing about biscuits is that you can freeze them. Do you know you can freeze these? And I'm going to go back in with a wooden spoon, or in this case, I'm just going to use the fork. May the fork be with you. And I'm going to stir it, but I don't want to over stir it, and I definitely don't want to put hands on it until I absolutely have to. So we're going to stir it until it's just moistened. If it seems a little dry, just add a dollop more of the milk, or buttermilk, as the case may be. Okay, and I'm going to add just a little bit more of a dab of milk. Mine's on the dry side. And usually I kind of eyeball this. So forgive me if I look awkward with the conversions. Okay. Now, right now it looks a little bit crumbly, and that's a very good thing because it'll moosh together. You don't want it to be overly wet. And this is where I take a little bit of flour. Whoop, let me move my phone. And I'm going to dust my counter very lightly. And let's move the camera over so you can see. And move the flour out of the way. So I'm going to dust it very, very lightly on the counter. And don't worry about the little nibs. That's just butter. A little butter never hurt anybody. And then I'm going to take this. And again, please excuse me with the coughing. I got that 100-day cough thing, and it's just not going away. And I'm going to kind of squish it together a little bit. But not too much. I'm just squishing it together enough to get it out and roll it out. And when I say roll, I mean pat. So they call them rolled biscuits, but they're actually more like patted out biscuits. And what I'm doing is patting out the biscuit dough. Excuse me. And I'm going to pat it out just a little bit, and then I'm going to fold it over and pat it out again. And then fold it over and pat it out again. And then fold it over and pat it out again. So you're going to do that 4 or 5 times. Excuse me. What we're trying to do is incorporate those layers into the biscuit so you can taste the biscuit. Did you really think we were going to have the whole video without me doing that? So now I'm going to pat out the actual biscuits. And I want to pat them out fairly thickly. I like a nice thick biscuit, is what she said. Excuse me. Guys, I am so sorry. If you're wondering, I am coughing into my shoulder. Okay, now the very best biscuit cutter in the world is a glass. Just a glass. But here is a secret. When you cut out a biscuit, go down with the glass, shake it once, and then lift. What you don't want to do is go too much because it seals up the biscuit on the sides and that prevents it from rising correctly. So that is my raw biscuit. And you wiggle it just enough to get that biscuit out of the, there we go. I say with biscuits are like everything else. If you wiggle it more than 2 times, you're playing with it. Okay, I'm going to fold it over again because that's what we do. Flatten it out a little bit more so I can get a couple more biscuits out of it. And then I'm going to get one last biscuit out of it because I feel like I can get that. So the idea with biscuits is to make them light, fluffy, and not tough. The worst thing you can do is to make a tough biscuit that is crunchy. Biscuits shouldn't be crunchy. Not American biscuits anyway. Okay, so we have a nice solid 7. And I'm going to take an ungreased cookie sheet. Put a little bit of parchment paper on it. Okay, this is the amount of parchment paper I have left. So you don't want to add extra oil on the bottom. You're going to end up with, again, those crispy biscuits that we try to avoid. And notice that I'm setting them together and kind of close to each other. There's a reason for that. If the biscuits are tough touching, they rise better. They help each other rise. We rise together or we fall together. Okay, I'm going to put that one on again. Here we go. Okay, so see how they're just kind of gently touching? Just very gently touching is also what she said. And here we go. We pop them in our oven. Again, that's 425 Fahrenheit. So it's 220 Celsius. And that, my friends, is the biscuit portion. And we're going to cook those. Until they're golden brown. Usually I do about 20 to 25 minutes, but probably on this particular, I would say maybe 15 minutes. I've got it higher than I normally do. If I touch things gently, they will rise. There's plenty of biscuit to go around. That's right. So I'm going to put 15 minutes on my timer. And we're going to hit start. And I'm going to take a 10-minute break so that I can actually blow my nose, wash my hands, and clean up after myself before we start the sausage gravy. So I'll have a new link for you, or actually, we're just going to leave it on this link and take a break with me. Give me about 10 minutes. I'll be back. Okay, so that was quicker than I thought. Yeah, I can't work in a kitchen where there's flour all over the place unless it's all over me, which it is. Um, okay, so my next step is going to be to make the gravy. Now, here is the sausage that I cooked yesterday, and I crumbled it up. So here's what you want to do. If you're not from around these parts, if you're from America, you want to take just a little over a half a pound of sausage. And if you like a really meaty gravy, you can do a pound of breakfast sausage, just regular American breakfast sausage. If you like it extra spicy, you can always get the Jimmy Dean the Jimmy Dean extra spicy sausage. It's pretty good. And if you are from the UK and you don't have American breakfast sausage, it's okay. Just get about a half a pound. Oh gosh, how many grams is that? Hold on. Let's see the conversion charts. Okay, so about 170 grams of sausage, pork sausage, and you want to, about 200 grams, I would say altogether. 2 to 250 is good, and you want to add just a little bit of extra sage to that. That's what gives it a little bit of American spiciness. That's, well, not necessarily. I mean, I'm sure that your sausage is spicy, but American breakfast sausage has a lot of sage. Hi, Raquel. Hello, gorgeous. So we're going to take the sausage. Now, what I did was I separated that sausage, and here's the sausage grease. It's still got little bits of sausage in it. And I also added some bacon grease from some bacon that I made yesterday. I like the extra flavor of having a little bit of bacon in it. So I'm going to put these into this pan, and I'll hold the sausage back for just a little bit. I'm going to put these into this pan, my fats, and I'll put those on the stove to get them warmed up, along with about a third of a stick of butter. Let's see, that would be about 3 tablespoons of butter. So converted, hold on. Converted butter. I know that they have a butter up here. Hold on. About 3 tablespoons of water. So roughly about 60 grams of butter. About 60 grams of butter. And I'm going to warm these up until they're melted together, and then we're going to add flour, and I'll show you about the flour. So we want to melt our fats together. And here's the thing with American gravy. Hard to screw it up. It's really hard to screw it up, guys. It's pretty much just fat, flour. Once you mix that in, you put some milk on top and stir it until it's to your taste, really. I like my gravy a little bit on the thicker side, so I usually kind of go a little heavy on the flour. But if it turns out too heavy, if it turns out too thick for you, add some milk and whisk it in. If it turns out too thin for you, add some flour and whisk that in. It's pretty easy, pretty hard to screw up. Hold the sausage back. Sounds familiar. Yeah. I get that message all the time. So while that is warming up, now there are people who swear by having the sausage in, not separated from the fat, and adding the flour in then. And that's okay too. I've done it both ways. It doesn't really make that big a difference. But it is it's American gravy is not all white gravy. We also have, beef gravy and pork gravy and dark gravies and light gravies. But this one is more of like, we call it milk gravy, or like sausage gravy, or southern gravy, or country gravy. And that is a milk-based rather than a water-based gravy. But it's still got the same ingredients. It's like, other than the flour and the milk, it's got like, the fat and the meat drippings and stuff like that. Love a good roux-based sauce gravy. Ooh, sausage gravy, yes. There's plenty of biscuit to go around. Ooh. If I wiggle my biscuit too much, I don't want to demonetize you. She is saying a lot tonight. Yeah, I've got my mouth full. That's what she said. Cracked pepper is a must in these parts with your white cream sausage gravy. I love cracked pepper. I don't have any currently, so I'm just going to be using regular kitchen pepper. If you have cracked pepper, use cracked pepper instead. But yeah, regular kitchen pepper is what I have right now. I like my women like I love my gravy, a little on the thicker side. That's fun. That is fun. Okay, we're finally starting to melt up and get in there. Come on, baby. Come on. You know you want to melt up, you fatty fat. Sometimes you have to go into the fat and you have to show it who's the boss. And you have to go, yes, fat, you're the boss. So my fat is mostly melted down at this point. I'm back to flour. Back to flour. And we're going to do this. Okay, so this is about the type of spoon that I use. It's about this on my knuckle. It's a pretty big spoon. And I'm going to do 2 heaping spoons of this. So, and now not super heaping, but like, yeah, probably a little, kind of like that. Okay. And the reason why we're putting the flour in before we put in the milk and before we put it back in the sausage is because we want that flour to kind of brown up. Otherwise, you get a really pasty taste. But if you brown up your flour and get it emulsified into that fat, it's much, much better. So what we want is basically you just kind of brown or scorch that flour a little bit so that it doesn't taste like flour. Not like, ooh, look, flour water, yum. Because that could suck. And it's browning up really, really well. While it's doing that, I can actually smell it starting to incorporate. It's doing a really good job of that. So while we're doing that, I'm going to take the balance of the sausage, which also has some fat still attached to it, and I'm going to pop it back in the pan. Now, some people wait until the end to add their sausage back, but I've had this sausage refrigerated, and I need to warm it up. And I'm not worried about lumps in the gravy because it's already a lumpy gravy. So I'm going to mix that in with the roux and let that chill out for a minute, just for a little bit, while I chop this sausage back down. and make sure that it separates correctly. You want those really delicious sausage lumps, but what you don't want is for your sausage lumps to be like a gosh darned sausage sandwich. So next I'm going to add some of my spices, and they include, I like a little bit of the Creole or Cajun mix. So I usually shake a little bit onto there. And then of course you are going to want salt and pepper. Cracked pepper if you got it. Michael's right about that. Now, once you've added the milk and created the gravy, you can always add more spices if you need to. I would start off on the conservative side. Okay, so if you're wondering, with the roux and the fats and the sausage, this is what it looks like. The camera kind of blows it out, but it already smells amazing. And we're going to take our biscuits out of the oven. Whoa. Overdid them just a little bit. So I'm going to attempt the impossible. I'm going to add my milk. And stir that in. And I'm stirring in right now about 2.5 cups of milk. And then we're going to go over these biscuits with gravy to make them nice and glistening and beautiful. Okay, so I'm going to stir that in. Ideally, I would continue stirring, but I got to get this gravy. I'm not used to having to stop and explain myself while I'm doing this. Sorry. So I like taking a stick of butter and just slobbering the top with butter. In my opinion, you can't have too much butter on biscuits. And you can't have too much sausage in the gravy. Okay. I'm going to leave that there for a second. And stir my gravy. And we want to bring the gravy to a boil. And you want to keep stirring and scrape along the bottom. When you scrape along the bottom, you get all of those juices and all of those fats off of the bottom, and it's great. So if it looks like the consistency of regular milk, you haven't cooked it long enough. And just an example, guys, here is my finished biscuit. I don't know if you can see, it's hot as crap. But here is my finished biscuit. And it is flaky. So it kind of just comes right apart. And it should be flaky. And I am going to throw a little piece of butter in the middle of that. By the way, if you're not from here, biscuits are also wonderful, like scones are. They're also wonderful warm with butter and jam. I imagine clotted cream is a great deal like butter. So this one I'm probably going to have jam on. I have grape jam. And if you don't know the difference between jam and jelly, you're going to have to look that one up on Google. Oh my God. Sorry. Okay, so my gravy is getting thicker. But still a milky consistency. We're going to let that hang out for a second. My lovely sausage lumps. I never thought a cooking show could be so naughty. A little naughty. Oh God, this is so good. I'm sorry, I do love a good flaky biscuit, and when they're fresh, and it's not, I'm not like home cooking bragging or anything, but when they're fresh and they're warm and they're smothered in butter, it's a pretty good thing. We like flaky if it's food. We do. Sorry, I leaked a little, I think. There we go. Now we've got a rolling boil. Now it's on a rolling boil. I'm going to let it boil and stir it for about a minute. And because this is an electric stove, I can go ahead and turn that off actually for a minute. And right now it's the perfect consistency. So it's boiling. Here's the consistency. It coats the spoon. Uh-oh, I think Grandpa's. Excuse me. Yeah, I see. Okay, y'all, later on, I'm going to try to edit out some of the interruptions. But Grandpa is on his way in, and I can't wait to present him with the perfect biscuits and gravy. So that's pretty much the way to make biscuits and gravy. Please let me know if you have any questions, and I will be pasting a recipe into the chat. But I don't want to put him on. I don't want to put him on blast after he's been working for 16 hours. So I'm going to say goodnight. And I love you all. And I hope that whatever you're cooking, wherever you are or wherever you go, you remember. And please don't ever forget, Glammaz loves you. Have a good night.